Well, my story continues in part two. I was a shy kid, 5 years old. I avoided most of the other kids in my neighborhood, but the older boys kind of fascinated me. They were always doing cool stuff, and I wanted to be a part of that. Of course, I wasn't accepted into the older kids' area, but you know what little guys are like, little kids. They want to follow the big kids around. And I would often slink around in the shadows and follow them, and they hated that. They hated it when I would follow them around. And when they saw me following them, they would usually try to ditch me. Or they'd chase me down and catch me and knock me around a little bit. So I had to learn to be careful and kind of keep under cover when I trailed them, using all my skills of stealth and deception. Hid behind trash cans and all kinds of different things to follow them at a safe distance. But I guess I wasn't good as a stealth as I thought, because one day they saw me and they gave me the slip. Now, when the boys I was following disappeared, I suddenly realized that I had no idea where I was. Nothing around me looked familiar, and I wasn't sure which direction was home. So in a panic, I started running in the direction that I thought was way home, but it wasn't. And it wasn't very long until I realized that I was utterly and completely lost. Even now, as an adult looking back, I can still feel the terror and the despair as I wandered around crying, trying to find a way back to something that looked familiar. The feeling of being totally and absolutely alone and without hope. Pretty heavy stuff for a little kid. But walking the beat that day was a Boston cop. And I wish that I knew his name. I wish that I could call his grandkids and tell them this story. But I never knew anything about him. All I knew was that he saved me. He found this little boy crying on a bus bench at a bus stop. And he knelt in front of him and he said, "Hey, kid, what seems to be the problem here?" And when I told him I was lost, he did what good cops do, what good people do. He investigated. And even though I was scared, I was careful not to give him my last name or my mom's name, because she had drilled into me that I was never to tell anyone, especially the police, her name or where she lived. And I said, "Well, my name is Paul. No, I don't know my phone number or my address. And I don't know the name of the street I live on. And I don't know the phone number. And no, I don't go to school." He didn't have much to go on, but he picked me up and he put me on his shoulders. And he piggybacked me around and kept asking me all kinds of questions about my neighborhood and people that I knew. He bought me a slice of pizza and let me wear his hat. He carried me around in the hot sun for what seemed like forever, but all of a sudden I saw in the distance a landmark that I recognized. And I pointed and I shouted and I said, "I know that building. That looks familiar." And so we walked that way. And then I recognized something else, and all of a sudden I knew where I was. And that cop carried me all the way to my front porch. And he put me on the ground and he shook my hand. And he said, "You sure were brave today, Paul." And then he turned around and he left. Never expecting anything, not knowing anything about me. It was a different time. Back then, kids ran all over the place. The parents didn't know where we were. Most parents just told their kids, "Be back when the streetlights come on." I didn't even have that. Looking back now, I'm not even sure that I thanked him. for taking care of me. I just tore up the stairs into the apartment and found Mom getting ready for her evening out. And I said, "Mom, guess what? I was lost all day, and a policeman found me and brought me home." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, I hope you learned your lesson." And then she picked up her purse and she walked out the door. And when the door closed behind her, I realized that she never even knew I was gone. She never missed me, didn't know I was in trouble. I left home at sunrise, and I was gone until it was starting to get dark. And she never knew that I was in trouble. It was then I realized that I was on my own. I was alone. We all get lost sometimes. Sometimes we get lost because we made a bad decision. Sometimes we get lost because we got blindsided or we weren't paying attention close enough. Sometimes we get lost because we didn't make a good plan and we didn't stick to it. But we all get lost sooner or later. And when we realize that we're lost, it's very normal to panic, to run blindly towards what we hope will save us. But it usually ends up making our situation worse. It's easy to fall apart when we get lost. It's easy to give in to despair and that overwhelming fear that comes flooding over us. And in the midst of that fear, we usually try to grab onto anything that will save us. And it usually doesn't work. The best thing that we can do, I have learned, when we feel lost, is to stop. Just stop. Sit down and stay where you are for a bit. Look around. Calm down. Take some time to evaluate your situation and your options. If you're truly lost, ask someone for help, or wait where you are for help to come to you. But usually, the more you run, the harder you are to find and the more lost you become. If you feel lost, asking someone in your life for help is not weakness. They may know something you don't. Or maybe they can see something that you can't see. Sometimes help comes in the form of a stranger. Someone who shows you the way home with no expectation of reward. And sometimes that stranger can inspire you to become the one to help other lost people find their way home. There is nothing in the world that is more heroic than helping someone find their way back home. Just ask anyone who has been really, really lost. This is where having people in your life that you can trust, having people in your life as mentors, people that you can depend on, is important. And if you don't have someone like that in your life, to look for someone that can be that person in your life. One of the best ways to find a good friend, someone that you can count on and someone that you can trust, is to be a good friend. To become the kind of person that others can count on and that others can trust. We need to try to be the kind of person that we need in our life. And that counts for finding that special person in your life as well. Someone who may be your life partner, your spouse. If you're the kind of person that you should be, and you're the kind of person that you know that you would like to find, then that kind of person will be drawn to you. But if you live your life in a way that other people have learned that they can't depend on, and other people have learned that they really can't trust, then you're not going to attract anybody except people that you can't depend on, that you can't trust. Being lost is not a character flaw. It's just a spot in your life where for a little bit you don't know where you are. You don't know how to get out. Finding the way home is important. And building a home that you want to find your way back to is also really important. Not too long after I was lost and got taken back home, we moved away from Boston. And a whole new adventure began. But that's a story for the next video. I hope that maybe in the process of you finding out who I am and learning my story, that you will find someone that you can trust and maybe depend on. Leave a comment, ask a question. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to answer your questions. Like and subscribe to this video channel if you think that maybe it's going somewhere that could be helpful to you. Recommend it to someone who's maybe struggling. But just know that you are loved and someone does care about you. And you are worth the trouble that it will be to become the person that you really want to be. Have a great day. See you next time.